We're in the principal's office here at Yuma Catholic High School with coaching legend Rhett Stallworth, who led the Yuma Catholic Shamrocks while he was head coach to 3 state titles, and now he's the principal. Thank you very much for taking your time to join us.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, you've been a coach for just about a decade, I think, here at Yuma Catholic High School, again leading the Rocks to 3 state titles, and now you're the principal of the school for the first year, your first year as a principal. How has that changed your perspective looking at the Rocks this year from an administrative kind of role?
Well, we just want to maintain the fact that we're honoring certain traditions throughout the school, that our programs are seamless, meaning that the expectations are the same per program, and make sure that we're still teaching all the little things besides just the football side of things, the academic side, the spiritual side, and all of that. So from my vantage point now, that's pretty much what I'm looking at and what I'm watching for.
Okay. And obviously, you coaching for so many years, you have that instinct of looking at the team and looking at the guys, because quite frankly, most of those guys, especially those seniors this year, played under you, and you've built those relationships with those guys. How often have you had that temptation to kind of step in and say, hey, maybe you should do this as a coach, and then have to step back and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm the principal? Well,
you have that instinct quite often. There's a lot of times you're watching, and it's like, oh, I would do this or I would do that. I have a pretty good relationship with the head coach. Aaron's been under me for 6 years, so we still talk quite a bit. We still help each other out. I still help game plan every blue moon when he has a question or something. So we're definitely in good hands, but it's just an old habit to want to take over, and so I try to keep myself off of the sidelines as much as possible. I'll walk through early on, and then I get up to the bleachers with everybody else so that I don't interfere with the process and become a distraction.
Before we talk more about the Rocks, let's talk about the man you just mentioned, Aaron Cheatwood, the current head coach. As you said, he coached under you as an assistant for several years. How has his growth process come about this year as he's a head coach for the first time?
Well, he's made a lot of progress. The X's and O's part, that's always there. That was, we had quite a bit of faith in him, and he's maturing as a leader as well now. Just like it's a new endeavor for me to take on the principalship, it's a new endeavor for him to become a head coach, not just a coordinator. So that becomes a new challenge for him. But he has definitely matured and grown through especially in the leadership area, and become a better leader of not just the kids, but of the coaches as well.
When you look at this Rocks team, a very talented squad on both sides of the football. In my personal opinion, definitely good enough to win the state championship. They were only 3 points away from beating the top seed this past weekend. When you look at this team, what are some of the things you like about the Rocks this particular season as they've taken the field week in and week out?
Well, I just think they were fairly salty in that they overcame some early adversity. The quarterback in particular went down in the very first game within a few plays. So that was a rough start for the Shamrocks, and then losing 2 out of the first 3 games and then reeling off, I believe, 7 wins, 8 wins after that to finish where they finished is a pretty good feat. And the quarterback, including coming back from a torn ACL and playing the rest of the year with it.
So what does that say about his character, as in James Stover, the starting quarterback this year? Because I know he was in a quarterback competition you're coaching with the Rocks with Stetson, and then he gets injured. He's out for the full year, and then he gets injured again. What does that say about the young man's character?
Well, he is of great character. He comes from a great family, and he has a lot. He has great work ethic, and that's really what we believe sets us apart on the football field. Anyways, we believe that at some point who we are and what we're made of really determines the outcome of games. Are we more disciplined? Do we have more character? A lot of teams have a lot of talent out there, and when those two things, when talent collides, whoever's worked harder, whoever has better character and better values and all of that, the little things come to light in the big games.
Absolutely, and like I mentioned a little bit earlier in this interview, the Rocks came very close to knocking Sholo off. What do you think needed to happen for the Rocks to actually get over the hump in that game?
They had multiple chances to win it. They were right there knocking on the door. It's just sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. They played a great game. They did a lot of great things. They made a couple of mistakes here and there. Had they won the 2 games earlier in the season, they probably wouldn't have had to make that trip to begin with. and that game takes place either here or somewhere in Phoenix, and kind of levels the playing field a little bit. But you know, really, I think they gave it their all, and I don't think they have anything to be ashamed of.
Okay, and as far as the season from start to finish is concerned, and I know that you probably wouldn't prefer to give credit to just one particular player, but if there's an MVP that you would give for the Rocks this year, who would it be and why?
You know, it's pretty hard to say, but I think that the Shamrocks really hung their hat on the defensive side of the field this year. I think Harrison Long and Jason Paisano, the two inside linebackers, did a great job. We won a lot of close battles. We weren't as high scoring as we've been in the past, and the margin of victory was a little bit lower than normal, and basically I think our defense really kept us in the game, so I'd have to say those two young men.
Okay, and one last question that I have that I think maybe a lot of people at home would kind of think about. I know I've thought about this through the course of this year. I mean, you've accomplished so much with YC as their head coach, winning 3 state titles. You're a young guy. You're not at retirement age by any standard. Would you ever at any point in your life consider getting back into coaching?
Absolutely. I love coaching. It's my passion. I still have a couple of young sons coming up, and they're getting close to being high school age pretty soon. So it's definitely been on my mind before, and we'll just see how it comes and see what life throws at us in the near future, and see how it goes. But right now, my main priority is what's going on in the building here, and working on that.
Okay, well, we're excited to see that happen if it transpires in the future. Thank you very much, Rhett, for taking your time with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.